From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Malacañang has ordered government offices in Metro Manila and 13 provinces to adopt alternative work arrangements on Tuesday as heavy rains from the southwest monsoon or habagat persist. The directive, issued under Memorandum Circular Number 128, covers the National Capital Region or NCR and the provinces of Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Benguet, Zambales, Bataan, Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Cavite, Batangas, Rizal, Laguna, and Occidental Mindoro. The measure was based on the recommendation of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, and the rainfall warnings of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA. Schools in the affected areas are instructed to implement alternative learning modes for all levels unless otherwise directed by local chief executives. Government agencies providing basic and health services, disaster response, and other vital operations will continue to function. Local chief executives may also declare localized suspensions of classes or government work in other areas. Meanwhile, private companies and offices retain discretion over whether to suspend work or adopt alternative arrangements.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang reports that 1,281 local government units, or LGUs, nationwide have already received financial aid under President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s Bagong Pilipinas Rice Program. The President continues to personally lead program rollouts across the country, combining rice assistance with education support under the Bawat Bayan Makikinabang initiative. On Monday, President Marcos visited Negros Oriental, where 2,230 residents of Barangay Talay and Barangay Katil-E in Dumaguete City each received 10 kilos of rice. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro stressed that beneficiaries must get the full allocation. She urged recipients to report immediately to the Office of the President or the Presidential Communications Office if they are given less than the prescribed amount.
Personal na binisita ng Pangulo ang Baslay Highland Agriculture o Basyako sa Negros Oriental na pinamamahalaan ng 487.55 hectares ng forest land sa ilalim ng Community-Based Forest Management Agreement o CBFMA. Sa tala noong Abril, mayroong 1,293 na aktibong CBFMA na nakakatulong sa 167,543 members ng People's Organization o mga POs. Sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Marcos Jr., umabot sa 7,500 645.61 hectares ng kagubatan ang naipaayos ng pamahalaan. Aabot sa 50 POs ang nakatanggap ng tulong pinansyal at 14,460 trabaho ang naibigay sa ilalim ng programa. Samantala, nagpasalamat naman si Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa Basiaco sa patuloy na pangangalaga sa kapaligiran kasabay ng pag-unlad ng sektor ng agrikultura at pagpapalago ng mga lokal na produkto. Pangunahing produkto ng Basiaco ay kape, kung saan umaabot ang kanilang produksyon sa 30,000 kilograms sa isang taon. Bilang suporta sa Basiaco, ipinatayo ng pamahalaan ang 2 agricultural greenhouses sa ilalim ng Farm and Fisheries Clustering and Consolidation Program. Nakatakdang pangunahan ng Pangulo ang bawat bayan makikinabang program sa Negros Oriental. Inaasahang mamamahagi ang Pangulo ng tig 10 kilong bigas sa 2,230 beneficiaries mula sa barangays Talay at Cantil-E ng Dumaguete City sa ilalim ng Bagong Pilipinas Rice Program na bahagi ng Local Government Support Fund o LGSF ng pamahalaan. Kailangan buong sa 10 kilo ang makukuha ng bawat beneficiary. Hindi bawas, hindi kulang, kundi buong 10 kilo. Kung makakakuha ng hindi buong 10 kilong bigas, agad na i-report ang insidente sa Office of the President o dito mismo sa PCO.
Castro also emphasized that the rice and all assistance under the program are free of charge. The government targets 386,673 beneficiaries across Negros Oriental under the rice program. Meanwhile, 2,785 presidential scholars in the province will benefit from the Socio-Civic Projects Fund or SCPF, with 5 graduating college students per barangay receiving 20,000 pesos each in cash aid. According to Malacañang, the SCPF has already reached 38,279 villages nationwide, disbursing a total of 7.66 billion pesos. The palace said these efforts highlight the administration's push to deliver direct community support through LGUs.
Libre lang din ang ayudang ito ng pamahalaan. Ibig sabihin, walang sinisingil na bayad ang gobyerno sa bigas o sa tulong na ibinibigay sa ating mga beneficiaries. Target ng Pangulo na mabigyan ang 386,673 beneficiaries sa buong Negros Oriental. Sa pinakahuling tala ng pamahalaan, umabot na sa 1,281 local government units ang nakatanggap ng financial assistance sa ilalim ng Bagong Pilipinas Rice Program. Inaasahan ding makikinabang ang 2,785 presidential scholars sa buong Negros Oriental sa ilalim naman ng Socio-Civic Projects Fund o SCPF. Sa pinakahuling datos, umabot na sa 38,279 barangays ang napagkalooban ng SCPF sa buong bansa. Sa kabuuan, nakapagbigay ng ang pamahalaan ng 7.66 billion pesos.
Was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday vowed to sustain government programs that directly benefit vulnerable communities as he led the distribution of food aid and student grants in Negros Oriental. Speaking at the Bawat Bayan Makikinabang program in Dumaguete City, the president said he was encouraged by recent data showing that 6.5 million Filipinos have been lifted out of poverty since the rollout of social support initiatives.
At natutuwa naman ako, kakarating lang ng bagong statistiko na ibigay sa akin nung isang araw at sinabi na mula nung sinimulaan natin itong mga programang ito, 6.5 million Filipinos have been removed from poverty. Ibig sabihin, 6.5 milyon na Pilipino na dati ay nakakasubok ng gutom ay hindi na ginugutom. Kaya naganda naman ang naging effect. Ako'y natutuwa na yung ating mga ginagawa ay meron talagang natutulungan at marami talaga tayong naiaahon sa kagutuman at sa kahirapan. Kaya po, ito ay papatuloy po natin. Alam nyo po, wag nyo pong isipin na ang pagbibigay, nagtigsa 10 kilo na sako ng bigas, minsanan lang. Ito po ay gagawin natin ng 6 na beses sa isang taon. Every 2 months po. Bawat 2 buwan, magbibigay po ulit tayo nito.
For the event, the President handed over 20,000 pesos cash support to 15 senior students from Dumaguete and nearby towns, urging them to use the assistance wisely to complete their studies.
Sana mapakinabangan ninyo itong mabuti para makapagtapos kayo dahil ang pag-aaral ay ibang klaseng biyaya yan. At ito ang pag-aaral, pag maganda inyong training, kapag magandang napag-aaralan ninyo, ang kaalaman ninyo na makukuha ninyo sa magandang pag-aaral, yan ay yaman na sa inyo na talaga yan. Hindi na makukuha sa inyo yan. Hindi na mananakaw, hindi maaagaw ng kahit sino man sa inyo yung inyong kaalaman na natutunan ninyo sa eskwelahan o sa training o kung saan man. Dahil ito ay makakatulong sa sarili ninyo para pagandahin ang buhay ninyo, para pagandahin ninyo, tulungan ninyo inyong mga pamilya, tulungan ninyo ang mga community ninyo. Tulungan at sa ganung paraan, mararamdaman yan sa buong Pilipinas na meron tayong mga manggagawa, mga workforce na napakadunong, na napakarunong, na napakaraming alam at maraming training at handang-handa, hindi lamang magtrabaho, kung hindi, ito ay handa para maging leader na pagdating ng panahon.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. commended the 302nd Infantry Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division of the Philippine Army or PA for its role in sustaining peace and security during his visit to Camp Leon Kilat in Tanchay City, Negros Oriental on August 17th. Addressing officers and enlisted personnel, the President praised the brigade's achievements in internal security operations, its close partnerships with local government units or LGUs and security stakeholders, and its active involvement in humanitarian assistance and disaster response. As Commander-in-Chief, President Marcos urged the troops to strengthen civil-military operations and remain vigilant against evolving threats. He reaffirmed the administration's commitment to supporting the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP through modernization efforts, capability upgrades, and welfare programs for soldiers and their families. The chief executive emphasized that the brigade's work not only secures communities but also helps sustain development in Negros Oriental and the wider Visayas region. He said the government will continue to back the AFP in ensuring peace, stability, and resilience across the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang says President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. remains open to dialogue with anyone, including those who may disagree with him, amid speculation online that Vice President Sara Duterte is seeking a private meeting. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro clarified Monday that the palace cannot confirm reports of such a request. She noted that the president has consistently expressed willingness to engage in conversations across political lines, citing his earlier remarks that dialogue fosters better understanding. Castro stressed that the president's openness should not be interpreted as a specific offer to meet with Duterte. Asked if reconciliation or cooperation with the vice president remains possible, she said the president's position is inclusive. Malacañang underscored that President Marcos's stance reflects his broader commitment to communication and unity, rather than any particular arrangement with the vice president.
Wala po tayo makukumpirma patungkol po dyan dahil wala naman din pong ibinababa sa atin na anumang impormasyon kung meron ngang ganyang kaganapan. So sa ngayon ay wala tayong makukumpirma. Hypothetical question. Pero, ang sabi ng Pangulo, sa una pa lang niyang podcast, kahit sino, sa lahat na maaaring hindi sumasang-ayon sa kanya, siya ay bukas upang makipag-usap para magkaroon ng magandang pagkakaintindihan. Hindi partikular para kay Vice Presidente. Baka kasi magkaroon na naman ng misinterpretation at misunderstanding sa ating mga ginawang katugunan sa ngayong araw na to. Sa lahat ng kababayan natin, sa lahat ng tao ay open ang Pangulo.
Was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Monday rejected claims by Caloocan Representative Edgar Erice that Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon threatened to withhold funding over his criticisms of the administration. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said Dizon himself denied ever speaking with Erice about the alleged threat. She stressed that the administration does not fear criticism and remains open to legitimate public concerns, but warned that allegations must be backed by facts and evidence.
At yan po ay pinasinungalingan mismo ni Secretary Vince Dizon dahil hindi po niya nakakausap si Congressman Erice patungkol sa kanyang pagbibintang. At hindi naman po makakapanira ang mga sinasabi ni Congressman Erice sa pamahalaan, lalong-lalo na kung ito naman ay puro fake news at walang basihan. So, walang magiging dahilan para siya ay katakutan at hindi natatakot ang gobyernong ito sa anumang pagbabatikos. Dahil kung anuman ang mga mensahe ng ating mga kababayan, yan naman po ay tinatanggap at inaalam ng Pangulo para malaman kung ano ang kulang, kung ano ang dapat gawin. Pero yung mga mensahe na walang basihan, hindi po to nakakapanira sa pamahalaan. Hindi to nakakaapekto. Pero dapat po na ituwid dahil mayroon nagmamalaki kung ano-ano ang sinasabi sa pamahalaan, yun pala galing lang sa kanyang sariling bibig na walang anumang ebidensya.
Castro challenged Erice to present proof supporting his allegations, including his remarks on alleged corruption and political protection in flood control projects. She maintained that the palace's response is anchored on evidence, not political retaliation.
Nung hinanapan natin siya ng ebidensya, ay wala siyang maipakita. Nung hinanapan natin siya ng ebidensya, maliwanag ang kanyang sinabi sa isang panayam sa channel, sa News 5, na sinabi na laglagan, na hindi madidimanda o makakasuhan si Speaker Romualdez at dahil laglagan na. Hindi yun. Maaaring sabihin lamang na base sa sentimiento. I-level up niya ang sarili niya dahil siya isang congressman. So, hindi siya pwedeng iparot lamang kung anong sinasabi ng ibang mga tao na walang basihan. Siya, kailangan ng basihan, kaya natin siya hinahanapan ng ebidensya. So, nung sinagot natin siya dito, hinanapan natin siya ng ebidensya, at kung may ebidensya siya, mauna na siyang magsampa ng kaso. Tayo po ay bumabase mismo kung ano ang ating dala-dalang ebidensya, kung ano ang meron tayo, at hindi po tayo dito pamema lang. So, yun ang pinaka-importante dito, ebidensya.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Monday denied that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ever authorized or instructed the creation of the alleged Leadership Fund at the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the President personally told her he never discussed such a fund with former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan, who earlier testified about the supposed arrangement involving lawmakers and agency projects. The palace clarified that the alleged fund was not part of the General Appropriations Act, or GAA, nor included in the approved national budget. Castro stressed that President Marcos's directive to Bonoan was to ensure projects were selected based on community needs, not to allocate money for lawmakers. According to Castro, the President's discussions with Bonoan focused on equitable distribution of resources and compliance with government guidelines. She added that the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, and members of the economic team also denied knowledge of such a fund.
Sinabi niya po na wala talagang itong pinag-usapan dahil nung pag nag-uusap sila at nagre-report si Secretary Manny Bonoan, hinahanapan niya ng proyekto at dapat ang proyekto ay base sa pangangailangan ng lugar, ng bayan. Ang pondo binibigay sa proyekto, hindi sa tao. Kaya siguro nabanggit niya na equitable distribution ang nais ng Pangulo dahil yun ang utos ng Pangulo. Pero when it comes to leadership fund, never po ito nabanggit sa Pangulo at ito din po ay dininay ng economic team. So kung meron man silang pag-uusap among themselves dito sa DPWH, hindi po ito kailanman naging programa ng Pangulo. At hindi po nakalagay ang leadership fund sa GAA. Yan din po ay tinanong natin mismo sa DBM. Wala pong leadership fund dito sa GAA.
Castro rejected suggestions that President Marcos was bypassed by subordinates, saying the palace immediately ordered an investigation after learning of anomalies at the DPWH. The palace has not discussed whether Bonoan should serve as a state witness, leaving the matter to the courts and prosecutors, including the Office of the Ombudsman.
Kaya nga po, ano ang ginawa ng Pangulo nung nalaman niya na may anomalya sa DPWH? Dahil mali na yung report ni Secretary Manny Bonoan, ang ginawa agad ng Pangulo, nagpaimbestiga. Wala naman magagawa ang Pangulo kung hindi paimbestigahan yan, dahil kung meron kayong ginawang anomalya dyan, dapat managot ang lahat ng dapat na managot. Hindi po ito pinabayaan ng Pangulo. Hindi po napag-uusapan po yan. So, depende na po yan sa korte, depende na po yan sa prosecution, sa ombudsman, sa state prosecutors, pero hindi po napag-uusapan ang patungkol sa issue kung kinakailangan maging state witness si Secretary Manny Bonoan.
Plus Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Malacañang has assured that the first parliamentary elections in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM will proceed as scheduled on September 14th, despite the weekend ambush on the convoy of Interim Chief Minister Abdul Rauf Makakwa. Makakwa survived the attack on Saturday, August 15th, when gunmen opened fire with assault rifles along the National Highway in Barangay Bitu, Dato Odin Sinsuat, Maguindanao del Norte, according to the Presidential Communications Office. Communications Undersecretary Claire Castro said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. wants the elections to continue, stressing that the vote is a crucial step in the region's transition to a democratic governance. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has described the ambush as an isolated incident and emphasized that the BARM elections must follow the set schedule without delay. The poll body also noted that the situation in the region remains generally peaceful. Castro added that the Philippine National Police is conducting a deeper investigation to identify those behind the attack, while security operations will be left to law enforcement agencies.
Katulad po ng nabanggit natin na mensahe ng Pangulo, hindi po ito makakapigil sa anumang balak na magkaroon ng tuloy-tuloy na pagbabago para sa pagkakaroon ng pamahalaang demokratiko sa komunidad ng BARM. At ayon din naman po sa COMELEC ay tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang eleksyon at naghahanda po sila para sa isang peaceful na eleksyon. At generally, sabi ng COMELEC ay peaceful naman ang buong BARM. And patungkol naman po sa PNP, sa ngayon po ay malalim ang pag-iimbestiga pa rin ang isinasagawa nila. Pero kung ano man po ang operasyon para malaman kung sino ang nasa likod nito ay ipapaubayan na lamang po natin sa PNP at hindi po natin maaaring ibunyag sa lahat kung ano pa ang kanilang mga ginagawang pag-iimbestiga at operasyon.
Was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, a total of 2,459 tricycle drivers in Dagupan City received rice assistance under the PBBM Rice Program on Monday through the Local Government Support Fund, or LGSF, of the Office of the President. Dagupan City Mayor Belen Fernandez said the aid was a major relief for drivers who had been unable to operate for nearly 2 weeks due to recent typhoons and flooding. She emphasized that the rice distribution helps sustain families whose income was severely affected by the calamities. The program aims to support low-income and vulnerable sectors, particularly those who lost or saw reduced earnings because of disasters. The distribution was carried out with the assistance of the Public Order and Safety Office, or POSO, led by POSO Dagupan Chief Arvin Decano, to ensure orderly and efficient delivery of the rice aid. This latest rollout follows earlier assistance to 379 boatmen and motorboat operators in Dagupan City whose livelihoods were also disrupted by flooding. Mayor Fernandez said the continuing rice program demonstrates the government's commitment to helping affected communities recover and ensuring food security for vulnerable families.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has reported that 27 individuals have died due to the effects of the southwest monsoon, or habagat. Fatalities were recorded in La Union, Pangasinan, Rizal, Batangas, Quezon, Benguet, Baguio, and Caloocan, including a police officer who died in Negros Occidental. The incidents involved landslides, rock slides, drowning, electrocution, and falling trees. The PNP also documented 18 injuries in the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR, the National Capital Region or NCR, and Calabarzon, along with 2 missing persons, 1 each in NCR and Calabarzon. PNP spokesperson Colonel Alan Ray Ko said the figures were gathered from regional police units and are still subject to validation. Meanwhile, the PNP has deployed 166 personnel to affected regions, with 117 assigned to evacuation centers. More than 10,000 members of the Reactionary Standby Support Force or RSSF remain on alert for possible deployment if needed.
Dateline Malacañang.
An estimated 38,000 families or 156,310 residents in Metro Manila have been affected by heavy rains and flooding brought by the enhanced southwest monsoon or habagat. According to the Department of Social Welfare and Development, National Capital Region or DSWD-NCR, Disaster Response Operations Monitoring and Information Center or DROMIC SITREP, at least 752 internally displaced persons or IDPs are currently staying in 8 evacuation centers across the region, with numbers continuing to rise. The DSWD-NCR has delivered immediate assistance, distributing nearly 35 million pesos worth of humanitarian aid to affected communities. The agency's Disaster Response Management Division, or DRMD, is closely monitoring the situation and coordinating with local government units or LGUs and disaster response partners to identify areas needing urgent support. DSWD-NCR remains on heightened alert to provide rapid response and augmentation support to LGUs and affected communities as flooding persists.
Dateline Malacañang.
United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk has called for urgent action to protect seafarers caught in escalating tensions in the Strait of Hormuz. The UN Human Rights Commission stressed that civilian vessels and their crews are protected under international humanitarian law. Philippine Permanent Representative to the UN in Geneva, Carlos Sureta, underscored the importance of ensuring the safety and repatriation of stranded seafarers. Meanwhile, Maritime Industry Authority or Marina Administrator Sonia Malaluan said the agency is coordinating with international maritime organizations to strengthen protection, communication, and repatriation efforts for Filipino mariners. The Philippines also reaffirmed the significance of the Manila Declaration on Seafarers' Human Rights, Safety, and Well-being, highlighting the need for stronger safeguards for the rights, welfare, and security of seafarers worldwide.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the nation on Monday marked the 50th anniversary of the devastating magnitude 8.1 Moro Gulf earthquake and tsunami that struck Mindanao on August 17, 1976. The Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or DOST-PHIVOLCS, led commemorative activities designed to honor survivors, recognize responders, and reinforce lessons on earthquake and tsunami preparedness. The 1976 disaster hit Sultan Kudarat and nearby provinces, triggering a tsunami that rose as high as 9 meters in Lebak, causing widespread destruction in coastal communities such as Kalamansig and Palimbang. Thousands of lives were lost and entire villages were displaced. As part of the remembrance, the first commemorative marker was unveiled in Barangay Tipuan, Lebak, paying tribute to those who endured and assisted in the aftermath of the tragedy. FIVOX also distributed information materials to teachers and disaster risk reduction officials, underscoring the importance of education in building resilience. The observance continues with a series of activities. On August 18th, an exhibit, interactive sessions, and seminars for students will highlight earthquake and tsunami science as well as disaster preparedness strategies. Officials stress that remembering the Moro Gulf tragedy is not only about honoring the past, but also about ensuring communities are better equipped to face future hazards.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and mabuhay.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.